A long time ago, in the middle of a green forest, there lived a frog, a deer, and a hedgehog. And they were the best of friends.
Now you'd be forgiven for presuming all three friends were happy with their idyllic lives. But sadly, this was not the case. None of the animals were truly content with what they had.
The frog watched the deer sprint through the trees and longed to be able to run the same way.
The deer had grown tired of having to run from danger and longed for a prickly, protective coat like the hedgehog's.
And every night, the hedgehog dreamt she could bound across the pond, leaping between lily pads, just as the frog did.
One evening, the three friends were sitting around the small lily pond that lay at the heart of the forest.
As they gazed up at the stars, they talked about their longings for the first time.
Each of the animals was shocked to learn that the friends envied each other and that they all longed to trade places.
With this revelation, they fell silent. They pondered long and hard about the problem until finally the hedgehog suggested a plan.
Early the next morning, they would set off on a quest
To find the magic hair.
If anyone could help them change places,
Then he would be the one.
The three friends met at sunrise by the edge of the lily pond and prepared to embark on their quest for the magic hair.
Does anyone know where this magic hair lives? Asked the hedgehog.
I've heard it said that he lives in a hill made of gold to the north of the forest, replied the frog.
Having no more information to work with, the three friends agreed they'd begin their journey by heading north.
But how do we know which way is north? Asked the frog.
That's easy. We just keep the rising sun on our right, answered the deer.
And with this, the three friends began their journey in good spirits.
After a long day's walk, the three friends saw the sun was setting and decided to look for a place to spend the night.
They soon spotted a hollow oak at the edge of a clearing ahead of them.
The hollow tree looked so cozy and inviting that there was no question of spending the night anywhere else.
The deer lay down in front of the tree, while the hedgehog and the frog curled up inside the hollow trunk.
It wasn't long before the three friends had fallen asleep, exhausted from their long day's travel.
The three friends were sleeping soundly under the old oak tree when a low, spooky moaning sound echoed in the air.
Realizing that in their exhaustion, they must have strayed into a dark corner of the forest.
A place, as every woodland creature knew, was haunted.
frozen with fear, the deer waited silently, hoping the sound was just a dream.
As time passed, she began to feel relieved. She must have imagined the spooky cry.
Just as she was settling down to fall asleep again, she heard a noise that made her tremble with fear.
Terrified, the deer whispered to her two friends inside the hollow oak, "Wake up! Wake up!" But no reply came.
She tried again. "Hedgehog! Frog! Wake up! We're in the dark corner of the forest, and I hear a ghost!"
Still no reply. She tried a third time, "Wake up!" But before she could finish her words, a large, dark shadow swooped down from the tree and landed in front of her.
Who are you? The shadow asked.
Trembling, she replied, "I'm a deer traveling with two friends, seeking the magic hair."
At this, the shadow moved closer.
The deer started to shake with fear until the shadow stepped into a pool of moonlight.
And there before her stood a beautiful big snowy white owl.
Ooh! The magic hair! You seek
asked the owl, still shaking, but feeling relieved not to be talking with a ghost. The deer answered, "Yes, sir. My friends and I are going to ask him if we can change places."
The deer went on to explain the whole story of how they embarked on their quest, while the owl listened intently to every word she said. When at last she finished her story, the owl said thoughtfully,
"A great forest you must travel through.
Work together. Ooh, you must do. Help each other, this is true.
If the hair is to help you."
With these words, the owl flew softly into the blackness of the forest.
The deer fell asleep with the owl's words echoing in her mind.
In the morning, she awoke from a sleep full of dreams.
"The owl said we have to work together," she blurted out, still half asleep.
"What are you talking about?" asked the frog.
"A wise owl came to me last night and told me that the magic hair will only help us if we work together."
A wise owl asked the hedgehog, "Are you sure you weren't dreaming?"
"Yes, I did dream, very much, but
I'm sure the owl was real."
As the deer questioned whether or not she'd simply dreamt the whole meeting, something caught the frog's eye.
"What's that?" he exclaimed. The three friends looked up and saw a sign on the side of the old tree. It read,
the wise old owl sat in an oak.
The more he saw, the less he spoke.
The less he spoke, the more he heard.
"I wish there are more like that wise old bird."
"There, I told you it wasn't a dream," proclaimed the deer. After a hearty breakfast of delicious blackberries from a nearby bush, the three friends continued their journey north in hope of finding the magic hare.
It wasn't long before the frog had grown so tired of hopping through the forest that he was beginning to fall behind. "Wait for me," he shouted to the others.
Hurry up, or we'll never reach the magic hare if you don't get a move on, replied the hedgehog.
It was at that precise moment the owl's words echoed through the deer's mind.
"I have an idea," she exclaimed.
The owl said, "We must help each other. I can help by carrying you both."
With my long legs, I can get us to the north of the forest in no time.
The three friends agreed this was an excellent idea.
And so the hedgehog and the frog climbed up onto the deer's back.
Hold on, she cried.
And before springing forward
and leaping through the trees as only a deer can.
Three friends were making great progress, with the deer rushing through the forest carrying the hedgehog and the frog on her back.
"We'll be at the edge of the forest in no time," shouted the frog nervously.
But the words had barely left his mouth when he felt the deer skid to a sudden halt.
"What's wrong?" asked the hedgehog in a startled voice, but no reply was needed.
The three friends found themselves staring at a wide river.
"I can't cross that," cried the deer.
"It's too deep to walk across and I can't swim."
Disheartened, the hedgehog and the frog climbed down from the deer's back.
And the three friends sat on the riverbank,
wondering how they could ever get across.
As the three friends sat by the riverbank, the hedgehog noticed a peculiar sight.
On the opposite side, there was a mighty fallen tree trunk suspended over the river.
"Wow!" exclaimed the deer. "That tree looks as if the slightest breeze could blow it loose."
The three friends watched the trunk sway in the wind.
If it falls in the right place, we might be able to use it as a bridge to cross, suggested the hedgehog.
The three friends watched and hoped and waited.
And hoped and waited and watched.
But nothing happened.
After what seemed like hours of watching and waiting, they gave up hope.
"It's no use," said the deer. "We'll have to turn back."
"Maybe not," replied the frog.
"I think I might have a plan."
Just as the deer and the hedgehog were wondering what the frog's plan could possibly be, they heard a plop from the riverbank.
The frog was nowhere to be seen until suddenly he resurfaced from his great leap into the river.
The two friends were concerned. After all, the river was clearly very deep and neither of them could swim.
But they needn't have worried. Their little green friend was soon clambering up the opposite bank.
It only took a minute for the frog to get his breath before he hopped towards and then right up the fallen tree trunk, suspended over the river.
The two friends watched nervously as the little frog approached the top of the tree.
"Be careful!" they shouted. "Don't fall!"
They were understandably nervous. Seeing a frog swim was one thing, but watching one climb a tree was quite another.
The deer turned to the hedgehog. Now what is he going to do?
But the words had barely left her mouth when they heard a cry from above,
quickly followed by a huge splash in the river below.
The deer and the hedgehog looked down to see the great tree trunk had fallen right across the river, forming a perfect bridge from one bank to the other.
But their only concern was for their friend, who is now nowhere to be seen.
A minute passed, with still no sign of him.
2 minutes?
3 minutes.
5 minutes.
He laid down his life just so we could cross the river, cried the hedgehog.
He was so brave and such a good friend, wept the deer.
The two were inconsolable at the loss of their dear friend.
So much so that they barely noticed the sound of tiny bubbles coming from under the fallen tree trunk.
What's that? Asked the deer, still sobbing.
The bubbles grew louder and more frequent until suddenly they saw their little green friend leap out of the water.
You're alive! They cried.
Of course I am alive! Thanks to my strong jumping legs, I was able to kick the tree free and topple it into the river.
It wasn't long before the three friends had crossed their improvised bridge and were continuing their journey at great speed,
with the frog and the hedgehog once again riding on the deer's back.
As the sun dropped lower in the sky, the three friends were approaching the northern edge of the forest.
Not long now,
panted the deer, rushing through trees with the hedgehog and frog on her back.
It's getting dark, replied the frog.
We should probably try to find somewhere to spend the night before the sun sets.
Everyone agreed. And it wasn't long before the hedgehog spotted a steep incline with a bushy area on top.
That looks perfect. The deer climbed the steep slope and crouched so her two companions could climb down safely.
Everybody was in high spirits that evening, knowing that tomorrow they would surely reach the magic hair.
They made themselves comfortable in the bushes and spent the next hour or so relaxing, talking and laughing about the frog's daring river acrobatics.
Little did they know that all of their merriment had attracted some very unwelcomed attention.
It was the hedgehog who first woke to the sound of low, angry growls,
and the sight of a dozen or so red glowing eyes moving slowly but steadily towards the bottom of the incline.
Then the others awoke to a sudden blood-curdling.
Howl!
Howl!
Howl! Howl!
The three friends huddled together, terrified, watching the glowing eyes and snarling teeth slowly climb the hill where they had settled for the night.
As the eyes and teeth moved closer, the moonlight revealed the distinct forms of 6 large, ferocious forest wolves.
This is it, whimpered the deer. We're done for. There's no way I can outrun them. The frog shuddered, huddled closer to the deer, and turned to embrace his old friend the hedgehog for the last time.
But the hedgehog was nowhere to be seen. Just then they heard what sounded like a high-pitched war cry.
The deer and the frog turned just in time to see Spike Ball hurtling down the hill, heading directly toward the biggest and meanest-looking wolf.
the wolf as dozens of sharp spines pierced his nose. The fierce creature leapt high in the air.
In surprise and agony, his paws barely touched the ground before he turned in panic and darted off into the cover of the forest.
The pack of wolves had never seen their fearless leader act with such terror.
They realized they must be facing a terrifying foe, so instinctively they fled after him.
The deer and the frog looked at each other perplexed, then turned to the spiky ball lying at the bottom of the hill, which had now started to giggle.
I don't think we'll be seeing them again tonight, laughed the hedgehog.
As he uncurled himself and climbed back up to his friends.
The animals slept well for the remainder of the night, safe in the knowledge that the wolves wouldn't dare come back. They woke bright and early as the sun rose,
had a tasty breakfast of berries, and set off on the final leg of their journey towards the northern edge of the forest, where it was said the magic hare lived in a hill made of gold.
A hill made of gold? Pondered the hedgehog, as he and the frog rode along on the deer's back. That sounds like a fairy tale to me.
Our entire journey sounds like a fairy tale, laughed the deer. A hedgehog fighting off a pack of wolves? A frog kicking down a tree to make a bridge? Who would believe any of it?
As the three animals laughed, they noticed the ground around them was becoming brighter. At last, they had reached the edge of the forest.
A moment later, the deer stepped out of the trees.
The three friends were bathed in warm, bright sunlight.
It took a while for their eyes to adjust to the brilliant light of day.
But as they did, a sight made them gasp.
Before them stood a large hill, thickly covered in tiny golden flowers that glimmered in the sunlight.
A hill made of gold,
exclaimed the frog in wonder. It really does exist. Nobody said another word for a few awe-filled minutes as they stared at the wonderful sight.
Finally, the deer began to walk slowly toward the golden hill, carrying her two friends.
When they'd reached the bottom, she knelt to let the hedgehog and the frog off. The two animals jumped down to the soft bed of golden flowers
And were stretching their legs when they heard a voice above them. Ah, you're here at last. I've been expecting you.
They looked up to see a large brown hare standing on his hind legs at the mouth of a hole about halfway up the hill.
Are you the magic hare, sir? Inquired the deer timidly.
Of course I'm the magic hare, was the reply. How many hares do you think live in a golden hill on the edge of the forest?
All four animals laughed.
Come up here. I prepared you some lunch.
The three friends climbed up the hill to the entrance of the magic hare's home and sat down for a lunch of delicious vegetables and nettle tea.
After they'd finished their lunch, the hare turned to the three animals.
You've traveled a long way to see me. There must be a very important reason for your visit.
There is, sir, replied the deer. We're here to ask if you can help us trade places.
The frog continued, I long to be able to run through the forest as the deer can.
And I dream of being able to leap between lily pads just as the frog does, added the hedgehog.
And I would love a prickly coat to protect me from danger, said the deer finally.
Replied the hare. I will grant all your wishes on one condition.
The three animals looked at each other nervously. What's that? They asked together.
You have to swear an oath to be friends for life.
That whenever one of you is in need, you'll come together to help.
Their nervousness turned to relief. Oh, that's easy, replied the frog.
We do that already, laughed the hedgehog.
We've been the best of friends since I can remember. That will never change, said the deer.
Very well, said the hare solemnly. I will grant your wish.
Stand up, hold hands in a circle and close your eyes.
This wasn't as easy as it might have first seemed, given the difference in size between the three friends.
But after a while they had formed a small circle.
The hedgehog and the frog holding hands with the deer's outstretched front hoof.
Then they closed their eyes
and waited for the hare's magic to take effect.
Open your eyes, the magic is done, declared the hare.
The three animals slowly opened their eyes with nervous anticipation.
I don't feel any different,
said the deer,
looking down at her two friends.
Neither do I,
replied the frog.
Are you sure your magic worked?
The hedgehog asked the hare.
The hare smiled.
It's not my magic at work here.
It's your magic.
The magic of your friendship.
The three friends looked at him confused.
Frog, you want to be able to run through the forest.
Well, you can.
Riding on the back of your friend the deer.
Hedgehog, you wanted to be able to cross water.
Well, you've already done that on this journey.
Whenever you need to cross a pond or a river, the frog will be there to help you.
And dear, your wish was for a prickly coat to protect you from danger.
Look at your friend the hedgehog.
He's wearing your protective coat.
Wow,
they exclaimed,
looking at each other with excitement
about the new skills they magically acquired.
They thanked the hare
and said goodbye
as they began their journey home
to the center of the forest.
The three animals kept their oath and were friends for life.
They had many more adventures together, running through the forest,
crossing rivers, and fending off foes with their prickly coat.
All thanks to the magic of their friendship. And a Merry Christmas to you all, one and all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Peace and joy and lots of cookies and some bourbon.
Happy winter solstice, everybody.
A happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, a happy holidays, a happy Kwanzaa, whatever you may celebrate.
Joyeux Noël tout le monde, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays! Merry Christmas!
Happy New Year!
Happy holidays to you, Paul, and to you, Katie, and to all my other friends.
Merry Christmas to each and every one.
Good night and Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to all of you and yours, however you may choose to celebrate.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and happy holidays to everyone.
And I want to wish you a New Year's filled with beautiful music, and may your best wishes come true.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas, Paul and everybody, from Joe, the Alvarez family, and Tarkus.
Have a great Christmas, and see you all soon.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all.
Happy holidays!
From Margaret
and Jerry.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all. Here's wishing you all a very healthy and safe 2021. Cheers.
Merry Christmas.
Wishing you a Merry Christmas from Bartlett, Illinois. Happy holidays. Fröhliche Weihnachten.
Hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. Take care.
Happy holidays, everyone.
A Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Years.
And wish you, your family, and all of us a very, very happy Christmas.
Wishing you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a happy and healthy New Year.
Happy holidays!
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Kwanzaa blessings.
And for all you atheists, just be happy.
To wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays!
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Paul.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all, please wear a mask a little longer.
Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.